Don't fall in the trap of letting the school system raise your kids for you. It is your responsibility. It is our responsibility. Hey, when I used to go and get called in for a parent conference because of something that my children may have done, and it happened a few times. I knew a few principals that they knew me by my first name and all of that, and I'll admit that. It didn't mean my kids were perfect. They were far from perfect. But you know what? They've turned out all right, thank God, as we get into adulthood. And so I'm very, very thankful for that. But here's a parental responsibility. It says in 1 Timothy chapter 5, beginning at verse 8, actually that's the whole verse, but those who won't care for their relatives, especially those in their own household, have denied the true faith. Such people are worse than unbelievers. You see, parents out there, grandparents who are raising children, their grandchildren that they never expected to have to raise, aunts, uncles, whoever it is, if you have these young people entrusted to your care in your household, we have a responsibility, all right? And that responsibility is to take some ownership and to make sure that we're involved in the process of what they are being taught, all right? We're supposed to care for them and make sure that we're not having them deny the true faith. And unfortunately, more and more now, in the public school system, it is secular humanistic, where it denies God, denies that God created heaven and earth and all that are on heaven and earth. It's atheistic. It's anti-family values of everything that the Bible stands for. This is what is being taught. And do you really feel that God would have you to have the children that are under your care and your responsibility to be receiving instruction constantly that is going totally against what God has said is right and wrong? You know, by the time they hit adulthood and all of these ideas are formulated in there, it's often too late at that particular point. If I were to come into your home and say things that are completely against what you believe and what the Bible says to your children over and over again, what would you do? Hopefully kick me out and say, stay away from my kid. And yet, many are not being involved in the educational process, and they're just sending their kids off like lambs to the slaughter every single day to be indoctrinated with whatever program some administrator or some person that has values totally different to you has decided that instead of teaching math and English and reading and writing, they're going to teach those ideas to your children over and over again. It's your responsibility to make sure that that is not what's happening. And unfortunately, in many cases, in many parts of the country, especially where I'm at here in Southern California, that means that if you want to steer your children in the right direction and keep them away from these ideas, you need to pull them out of the particular school thing that they are in right now, because otherwise it will just continue and it's going to get worse.